In the winter of 1811, in the muddy textile towns of Nottinghamshire, England, a masked man named Ned Ludd, or so the legend goes, smashed a knitting frame to splinters. He wasn't a madman. He wasn't anti-technology. He was a skilled craftsman watching his livelihood evaporate into the gears of the Industrial Revolution. Fast forward 214 years, and the great-great-great-great-grandchildren of those knitting frames are learning to walk, to see, to think. They're called humanoid robots, and they're not coming. They're already here. The market for these mechanical marvels currently sitting at roughly $3.14 billion in 2025, projected to explode to $38 billion by 2035, according to Goldman Sachs, a six-fold upward revision they made just last year because things are moving that fast. But here's the twist. This isn't just another tech story about shiny gadgets. This is the same story humanity has been telling since the first flint struck steel. It's about work, dignity, survival, and whether history is about to repeat itself or rhyme in ways we never expected. Welcome to the rabbit hole. I've left breadcrumbs. Try to keep up. The Ghost of General Ludd. Let me take you back to March 11, 1811. The Luddites, skilled textile workers, not anti-tech zealots, began a 2-year campaign of machine breaking that would see 12,000 British troops deployed to stop them. Think about that. More soldiers than Wellington had fighting Napoleon in the Peninsular War, all to protect knitting frames. Why? Because those frames didn't just replace jobs, they degraded them. Factories hired children at below minimum wages. 2/3 of one Cromford Mill's 2,000 workers were kids, laboring under corporal punishment and long hours. The Luddites weren't fighting progress, they were fighting predatory progress, the kind that enriched factory owners while impoverishing craftsmen who'd spent decades mastering their trade. The result? British handloom weavers collapsed from 250,000 to just 7,000 in 60 years. That's not disruption, that's annihilation. And the government's response? Machine breaking became a capital offense. 17 Luddites hanged at York in 1813, others transported to Australia. The state didn't just suppress a rebellion, it narratively suppressed them, casting them as foolish technophobes, a stereotype that stuck for 2 centuries. Now, here's where the story flips. Today, 75% of global employers currently can't fill job vacancies. The U.S. has lost 1.4 million workers since February 2020. Japan faces an 85% labor shortage rate. By 2030, we'll be short 85 million workers globally, costing $8.5 trillion in lost revenue. See the irony? The Luddites smashed machines because there were too many workers and not enough jobs. We are building machines because there are too many jobs and not enough workers. History doesn't repeat. It inverts. It mocks us. But before you breathe easy, before you think, whew, robots are just filling gaps, not taking jobs, let me show you why the $16.5 billion question is actually a $5 trillion question, and why that number should terrify you and excite you in equal measure. The players. The humanoid robot market in 2025 is dominated by an unexpected empire, China. Agibot holds 31% market share. Unitree controls 27%. Combined with UB Tech and Leju Robotics, Chinese companies captured 4 of the top 5 positions in global installations last year. Why? Because while American companies were PowerPointing about the future, China was building it. Government-backed funding, deep manufacturing supply chains, a willingness to deploy at scale in controlled industrial environments. But the West is fighting back, and the battlefield is weird. Figure AI. Founded 2022 by Brett Adcock, a man who previously built Archer Aviation and Vettery. In February 2024, Figure raised $675 million at a $2.6 billion valuation. 18 months later, a $1 billion plus Series C at $39 billion, a 15x increase. Their robot, Figure 03, has been deployed at BMW's Spartanburg plant for 11 months, running daily 10-hour shifts, loading over 90,000 parts across 1,250-plus runtime hours, contributing to more than 30,000 X3 vehicles. But here's the kicker. In February 2025, Figure ended their partnership with OpenAI. CEO Brett Adcock stated, "We found that to solve embodied AI at scale in the real world, you have to vertically integrate robot AI." They built their own Helix AI, a vision, language, action neural network that can pick up objects it's never seen before and allows two robots to collaborate simultaneously. October 2025, Figure 03 unveiled. Time magazine named it one of the best inventions of 2025. It's designed for homes, not just factories. Soft textiles, wireless charging, gentle enough for elder care. Their BotQ manufacturing facility is operational, targeting 100,000 robots over 4 years. Then there's Tesla, Elon Musk's Optimus program. August 2021, Tesla announces TeslaBot at I-Day. A person in a spandex suit dances on stage. December 2023, Optimus Gen 2 unveiled. 30% faster walking, 11 degrees of freedom hands, can pick up an egg without cracking it. Musk claimed in June 2024 that Tesla would have 1,000 to a couple thousand robots working in its factories by 2025. In January 2025, he raised the stakes. 10,000 Optimus robots to be built this year, doing useful things. Reality check? January 2026, Tesla's Q4 2025 earnings call. Musk admits, "We are still very much at the early stages. It's still in the R&D phase. We wouldn't expect to have any kind of significant Optimus production volume until probably the end of this year." No robots doing useful work. Despite claims of 2 Optimus bots performing tasks autonomously in June 2024. Despite the dancing, despite the hype. But, and this is crucial, Tesla is converting its entire Fremont factory to produce Optimus, ending Model S and X production. They're targeting 1 million units annually eventually, with price points of $20,000 to $30,000 per robot. If Tesla executes even a fraction of this, they reshape the market from billions to tens of billions. But that's a big if. The gap between Tesla's marketing and independently verified autonomous capability remains the industry's biggest question mark. Boston Dynamics, the elder statesman. They retired their hydraulic Atlas in 2024 and introduced a fully electric version with 56 degrees of freedom, 2.3-meter reach, and the strength to lift 50 kilograms. Under Hyundai ownership, they're targeting automotive manufacturing. Hyundai is preparing to deploy tens of thousands of Boston Dynamics robots into its own facilities and announced a $26 billion U.S. investment, including a new robotics factory capable of producing 30,000 robots per year. They've partnered with Google DeepMind to integrate foundation models into Atlas. This is the marriage of brawn and brain. And Agility Robotics, the pragmatists. They operate RoboFab in Salem, Oregon, with capacity for 10,000 digit robots annually. Their approach? Wheeled lower body, humanoid upper body. Less sexy, more practical. They've secured deployments with Amazon for warehouse operations. No backflips, just tote movement, logistics, the boring stuff that makes the world work. Total venture investment in humanoid robotics exceeded $3 billion in 2024-2025. Figure AI alone is valued at $39 billion, more than the entire projected 2035 market size. Investors are pricing in either figure capturing dominant market share or the market substantially exceeding projections. Morgan Stanley thinks this is a $5 trillion market by 2050, implying nearly 1 billion humanoid robots globally. That's one robot for every 8 humans on Earth. Now, let's talk about the part nobody likes, the economics of extinction. Let's talk about the supply chain, because humanoid robots aren't just software with legs, they're incredibly complex hardware. Each robot needs electric actuators, harmonic drives, planetary gearboxes, sensors, LiDAR, depth cameras, force and torque sensors, compute platforms. NVIDIA, Jetson, and Thor are becoming standard. Batteries, 2 to 4 hours of operation currently, a major limitation. AI software, foundation models from OpenAI, Google DeepMind, NVIDIA GROOT. Goldman Sachs notes that some components require high-precision grinding machines that are limited in number, constraining production speed. This bottleneck is easing as manufacturers invest in dedicated capacity through 2026-2027. But here's where it gets philosophical, and political, and potentially revolutionary. The Luddites weren't wrong about the concentration of wealth. The Industrial Revolution created unprecedented abundance while immiserating the working class for decades. It took 80 years until the early 20th century for British wages to recover to pre-industrial levels relative to GDP. So the question isn't whether humanoid robots will destroy jobs. The question is, which jobs, whose livelihoods, and who captures the value? Current deployments focus on manufacturing and automotive assembly, about 35%, logistics and warehousing, about 25%, research, about 15%. These are the 3D jobs: dull, dirty, dangerous. The jobs employers can't fill anyway. Welders and flame cutters face shortages in 21 European countries, heavy truck drivers in 68% of surveyed nations, plumbers and pipe fitters in 71%. But here's the breadcrumb trail I promised. Figure 03 is designed for homes. Soft textiles, wireless charging, gentle enough for elder care. By 2050, 1 in 6 people globally will be over 65. In Japan, it's already 1 in 3. The caregiving crisis isn't coming, it's here, and there aren't enough humans to provide dignity in aging. So if humanoid robots can wash, cook, monitor medications, and provide companionship for the elderly, is that liberation or replacement? But let's not be naive. The same technology that cares for grandma can flip burgers, clean hotels, and stock shelves. The service economy, 70% of U.S. employment, isn't safe. And unlike the Industrial Revolution, which took generations to transform agriculture and manufacturing, AI operates at the speed of data. When one robot learns, all robots learn. Boston Dynamics' Orbit platform means when one Atlas learns a new skill, that task can easily be deployed across your entire Atlas fleet. That's not automation, that's instantaneous capability transfer. And now, we arrive at the part where this stops being about robots and starts being about humans. The moral maze. In 2025, Figure AI became revenue-generating. Tesla claims mass production by 2026-2027. Agility Robotics is already in Amazon warehouses. Boston Dynamics is scaling through Hyundai's manufacturing network. We're not in the research phase anymore, we're in the deployment phase. So let's address the $16.5 billion question, or rather, the $5 trillion question that nobody wants to ask. If robots can do most human labor, what happens to human value? The tech elite's answer is universal basic income.
Sam Altman, Elon Musk, and others have floated UBI as the salve for technological unemployment. Give people money, let robots work. problem solved. But critics point out something important. UBI proposals remain predominantly confined to the United States, while AI systems are trained on global data and affect global populations. It ignores the global North-South divide. It doesn't address power. Who controls the robots? Who owns the means of production? Who collects the dividends? As one academic critique puts it, the omission of global equity considerations exposes ethical limitations in benefit-sharing mechanisms like UBI, raising serious questions about the moral defensibility of AI's promised benefits. Here's the uncomfortable truth. The Luddites lost because they challenged property rights in a property-owning democracy. But they weren't wrong about the distribution of gains. If humanoid robots create $5 trillion in value by 2050, and that value accrues to Figure AI shareholders, Tesla stockholders, and Chinese robotics firms, while displaced workers get a $1,000 a month check, is that progress, or is it techno-feudalism? The 19th century answer wasn't trust the market. It was worker ownership. Cooperatives, unions, the 8-hour day, child labor laws, the social safety net. And let's be clear, these weren't gifts from benevolent industrialists. They were concessions won through struggle. The Luddites were the opening act. The main event took a century. And today, the pattern is familiar. Amazon warehouse workers wear GPS trackers. Algorithmic management replaces human supervisors. The gig economy strips away benefits, seniority, dignity. Agility Robotics' digit is literally named after a body part, a digit, a finger, while working in warehouses where human fingers get crushed. The symbolism isn't subtle, it's explicit. So, what do we do? The choice. Path 1. The Luddite trap. Resist all automation, smash the servers, try to preserve 20th century work structures in a 21st century economy. Result? You get left behind. China dominates. Standards of living stagnate. The climate crisis worsens because we lack the productive capacity to build green infrastructure at scale. Path 2. The tech utopia. Trust the market. Let capital flow to efficiency. UBI for the masses, yachts for the billionaires. Result? Massive wealth concentration. Social cohesion collapses. The robots work, but humanity loses meaning. But there's a third path, harder, messier, and it requires something the Luddites didn't have and the tech bros don't want: democratic control of technology. Tax robotics to fund education and transition programs. Worker ownership stakes in automated enterprises. Regulatory frameworks that prioritize augmentation over replacement. International agreements that prevent a race to the bottom. Figure AI's robots are already working alongside humans at BMW. Collaborative, not replacement. That's the model. But it requires political will. And political will requires political imagination. Remember Ned Ludd, the mythical figure who smashed that knitting frame? He never existed. General Ludd was a collective invention, a symbol workers created to give their struggle a face. The Luddites weren't anti-technology. They were pro-dignity. They wanted a say in how progress happened. They wanted the gains shared. 2 centuries later, we're facing the same choice. The robots are coming. 16,000 units in 2025, 100,000 plus by 2027, potentially 1 billion by 2050. The $16.5 billion question isn't whether they'll change everything. They will. The question is, will we let them change everything for us, or will we change everything with them? In 1811, the Luddites left a message at one factory they raided. It read, "We petitioned Parliament. We applied to magistrates. We have done everything to call the attention of government to our sufferings. We are driven to disobey. We are driven to break the law." They weren't criminals. They were canaries in the coal mine. Today, the coal mine is a clean room, the canaries are algorithms, and the air is getting thin. But here's the final breadcrumb. Technology is not destiny, it's choice. The humanoid robot market will hit $38 billion by 2035, maybe $5 trillion by 2050. Those numbers may be inevitable, but what those numbers mean, whether they represent liberation or immiseration, that's up to us. The robots are learning to be human. The question is, are we learning to be humane? Sources in the description. This is just the surface. The rabbit hole goes deeper. See you in the comments.